everybody, Jim from Jim's Coleus at Coleus. A little different perspective today on my beautiful Coleus. It's really beautiful out today. Breeze. It's supposed to be in the high 80s, 90s, but again, I'm closer to the shore, so it's not quite that hot. It's not really humid, so it doesn't feel, although, you know, I'm drenched. I already changed like 3 times. Getting myself prepared for the farmers market in 2 days. So I wanted to get everything out. It's been, I guess it's been a couple of weeks since I've gotten everything out, or a week at least, that I've gotten everything out on the table. Trimming again, and at this point I don't want to trim too much because now I want to sell them. So, you know, if I keep trimming everything, you know, people aren't going to see how beautiful some of the flowers, some of the plants. You can see there's a little bit of insect damage here, but I don't see any bugs. Check your soil if you see any bugs falling around, and especially pots. If you have your pots outside on your deck, every once in a while, lift them up and look underneath. Make sure you don't have insects crawling out like ants. I had one beautiful Coleus, I think a year or 2 ago, and I just was out, and I'm always looking at my plants, and I looked and I see some ants, and I lifted it up, and it was loaded with ants. So I had to remove it altogether, put it over by my garbage because I didn't want it to get all over my other plants, and I ended up just throwing it out because it was actually one of the window box planters, the big square window box planters, but it was clearly, the ants were coming in and out of the drain hole, so it was clearly loaded with ants. Not worth infecting all my other plants. Check underneath your pots if there's any insects, especially as we get into the warm weather, because they're going to be looking for places to hide and cool and eat and drink and so forth, and pots will do that. So, but anyway, so here we are. Everything's out. Trimmed them. I gave them a light fertilizer, and thanks to my mentor Brooklyn, and I know other followers have mentioned fish emulsion, and I'm going to give it a try. Not necessarily on these as much. I might give these a little bit, but I don't want, and I tried to get the odorless formula, but there's not too much out there. But I'm going to give them for my larger planters and my vegetables and so forth, give the fish emulsion a choice. So all right, I'm getting neck spasms looking up at you. I just wanted you to get a nice overall look here at my beautiful Coleus, and we'll get down to ground level and take a look at these beautiful plants. So, you know, I hope that video I did yesterday or the day before on sun and shade and so forth was helpful. It was really geared towards the full sun question, because I did get a lot of questions about, and even at the farmers market, can these take sun? It's the #1 question I get. Can I put these out in full sun? Or I get a lot of shade and so forth, and I'll just, well, you know, through the conversation, I'll try to answer the question, maybe suggest with the pots, which is why I generally like pots, because you can move them. So maybe you have an area that gets full sun. All right, so, and you want to keep your pot there. All right, then that's fine. But you know what? It's going to dry out quick unless you're home and you want to put, you know, you put that extra effort in and keep a watering can nearby. You're gonna have to water it a few times. But again, there are certain Coleus that don't do as well in full sun as others. You know, like these are very difficult. They're beautiful, but they're not for full sun. They're just very delicate, as opposed to some of these others, which do pretty well in full sun. These colossal marbles. There's a jade and a Kong red. And I'm just, again, we're going over some types of Coleus. Kong reds would be the green, the black, and the red, no white. Kong rose would be green, some black, the red, and some white in there. But they're Kongs. So, your Coleus, they need sun. A mix of sun and shade is the best. So I hope that video really helped out. So, again, I'm trimming, but I don't want to overdo it now. I mean, because I want to sell these, and if I keep trimming them, yes, it's true. These really need to be cut to fill them out and so forth. And but they're really beautiful. And again, I pot them. Most of them are really full. And again, I mentioned to you know, some people who are like, well, you know, are they perennials? I'm like, no, but these are house plants. You can bring them indoors and keep them by a window. And excuse the neighbors again. I don't think there's a time during the day that I don't hear a landscaper's blower or mower going. So actually, I don't even hear it after a while. So I'm really keeping these out. And again, these Terranias, they like sun, so I'm keeping them over here in the sun. I just deadheaded these. Actually, there's a few more. As much as I keep deadheading them, I still find some that I've missed. So deadhead that goes for pretty much all flowers. If you have a flowering plant that gets a lot of buds, and you see that the dead ones, they're spent, trim those deadheads. That's what I call it, deadheading. And that will promote the newer growth. So trimming is just a basic concept, and it's good for all plants, pretty much all plants, where you trim the top and let the bottom growth. It diverts the nutrition, the energy, and it gets the bottom growth going. But really just take a look at these beautiful Coleus. These do real well. These are the crimson gold, but they're smaller. They did well in this little pot. They grow, they're not really quick growing, but they grew very thick and small, and they were perfect for this pot. I love these. I got quite a few of these, and I'm definitely going to get have a few that I'm saving just for seeds later on once they start to seed. So I'm going to get plenty of seeds. Hopefully I can isolate these. I'm going to get stalks for these and isolate these and see how true the offspring is. So I will have these seeds on my eBay listing starting in around October. So just jot that down. I'll try to isolate these. I'm going to, even though they're not officially Jade Jitters Fireworks, I'm going to call them Jitters Fireworks because I just love them. As the landscapers continue, that's a Jade Kong, which is a green and white. I only have a handful of those. And these are just wonderful indoor outdoor pots, but unless you have like a bright room, you know, absolutely you can keep them indoors. But if you can keep them outdoors for this weather, if you're, you know, get them in New Jersey, it's summertime, get them outside, get them growing, get them established, get that heavy root ball going, and you get a nice strong mature plant. That way in the fall, when you bring it in, you'll have a nice strong healthy plant to overwinter. And I sold quite a few of these. I think I have 4 or 5 left. These 3, and there's a few up top here. So I did sell quite a few of these. That's a I want to say that's a mosaic, but it's really not. This is a colossal marble, and you know, I thought it was sort of like a mosaic because it has that mosaic, but it's actually a colossal marble. See all that splatter? See all that splatter? This is a colossal marble, as opposed to a mosaic, which is this. And this is a hanging basket. This is more of a mosaic. And there are so many, there's not so many varieties as much as just different ones. There's Christmas candy, kaleidoscopes, I used to call them, mosaics. These are Kong mosaics. So, and I'll try to have these, the seeds from these for my listing as well. But this is a nice hanging basket. I really trimmed this thing like crazy because I had this giant jitters in here and they were overflowing. But this is on my property. This is mine. And again, I just trimmed it. And that's just going to fill that in really, really quick. Planters. I just turned it around. Seed stalks, just trimming those off, just clip them off. See, look, I mentioned in my last video how that this is going to be a real aggressive cedar. Cedar, is that a word? It is today. So I'm just going around and trimming any seeds. This is getting really, really tall now. You know, I choose a decent height. Because it's a tall planter, it is perfect for this mammoth Coleus, and year after year, without disappointment, it does just that. These beautiful empires. I always put Kongs in here because Kongs, and there's some crimson gold, because I know they do well in the full sun. And this is a big planter, deep, lots of soil, so the roots just keep going, and there's an abundance of moisture. I do water it at least twice a day, and it comes right back. Now yesterday I put this Saturn in a pot. I had to wait because I couldn't get any potting soil. I didn't feel like going to Home Depot, so I went to my local hardware store. Paid a little more, but this is really for me. So I love these Saturns, and it's sitting in full sun, but it'll get shady. It'll get some shade later, so it'll get a good few hours of sun, and it's doing okay. You know, in full sun they may lighten or darken, so I'm really going to keep an eye on this and see how it does. If it doesn't look like it's doing well here, then I'm going to move it to a place that gives a little more shade, but we'll see what it is. And that's really what you have to do. That's what I've learned over the years. I just experiment with location, and that's how I know where to put my Coleus. So if you're following along, you're watching up on my videos, you can take my suggestions and apply them to your plants. And don't forget to roll your pots around, because they're constantly going to be facing the sun. So you want them exercise, you want them moving them around. right, everybody. So hope you enjoyed this. You know, I've been doing this for like 10 years, and every season is a little different. This season, this summer, has started out very slow. It was very cool, and we really just started to get hot weather. And tomorrow, I think we're going to get 90 degrees for the first time. So we haven't had any 90s or 100s, even upper 80s. It's been low 80s. We had a couple of, you know, mid 80s days, but we haven't had that really sustained heat. But then again, summer just started June 21st, so we're almost a month into it. So we'll see how the rest of July is and August. And now that these are, and even the plants on my property, now that they're already established and they're in pots and they're growing and being fertilized, and the hot weather is yet to arrive, once that does, that's when it really starts to kick in and double. So a lot of these plants are going to double or triple. And that's before I close, but really specifically your location. If you start to get into a heat wave where, you know, you get like a couple of weeks of really hot, I'm talking really oppressive hot weather, do not fertilize with a high nitrogen fertilizer specifically. I just quit fertilizing for that week or two, because again, fertilizing during heat waves will, what it'll do is it just, like, again, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. It's gonna explode your growth so quickly. Your root system won't be able to sustain the plant or feed the plant, and it's just going to be, you're going to be spending so much time. And I remember I did this a few years ago. I was fertilizing during heat waves, and it was like I couldn't keep up, and really didn't. It just made it too difficult. It wasn't even funny after a while. It was just too much. Where I was just, it seemed like in a day. So just don't fertilize during heat waves. Just, you know, make sure you keep your watering going and so forth, and trimming, and check for your insects and so forth. So, all right, so I hope you enjoyed this. This is just really a video I wanted to show the beautiful Coleus, as opposed to listening to me talk. and of course, I want to give everybody some pointers along the way and so forth. So, all right, so enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for watching Jim's Coleus. Take care, everybody.